All right, welcome everybody to our City Council Finance Workshop. As soon as Michael gets up here, sauntering up here, we will be able to let him tell us all the good news.
All right.
Yeah. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with our new, this new sales tax one. This is a new report that you should have in your packets that we're going to start giving you. And this kind of comes off of what David was kind of asking about at our last meeting. I got in touch with the state and was able to find where we get the breakdown on all of our different sales tax. So we went back and we ran it through January of 23 through August of 23. If you go over to August of 23, you'll see that the last column there, the total collected taxes for the month of August was $391,403.05. 60,000 of that came from food and beverage, 113,000 came from lodging, and the other 218,000 came from miscellaneous other taxes. They're in the report that's attached to this, but to just kind of give you a breakdown, when you take food and lodging out of it, the next biggest tax is our general merchandise stores, which in August they brought in about $27.5 on taxes. Electronic shopping and mail order is next at $20,000. We have one that's a group of codes that is $18,000. Office supplies was $16,000. Miscellaneous store retailers was $9,749. Clothing stores $9,196. Jewelry $7,999. Building materials and suppliers $7,500, and building equipment contractors $5,570. I kind of stopped there once it got below $5,500, and the ones that went below $5,500 made up $95,000. So our other taxes account for $218,000, which is 56% of the total taxes, and the food took up 15%. And the travel was 29% for the month of August. We went ahead and ran it through the entire year. And so, as you can see on our year-to-dates, that's what your chart is showing. On our year-to-date, 62% of it has been the other taxes, 15% of it is food and beverage, and 23% of it is lodging. The rest of the chart is kind of the papers that are behind it. As you can see with the next chart is the thing we get from the state of Arkansas, which has the total deposits, which is the $391,403.05. Their service charge for that month was $11,742. We earned interest on that money of $1,500. Vending decals, we got $51.62. So the amount that was distributed to the city of Eureka Springs was $381,260.22. Out of that, we go to the next chart, which is how we break down our 2.375 sales tax. In that, excuse me, 1% of the sales tax that we get was $160,000. That's our sales and use tax bond. 1% of sales tax goes to street, 35% in general fund, 65%, so that's 160. And then 0.25% to parks and 0.125 to parks, which totals our $381,260.22 that we received. The second page is that first invoice sheet of what I just kind of explained to you that shows their service charge, how much they collected in the service charge. And then the third sheet is the breakout of the 1%, the quarter, and the 12.5. And then the next page is all the different codes, and there's like 11 pages of it. So if you have a particular area that you want to look at, you can look at, and you're going to want to look at the third column, which is the total. because that's the net sales and use tax. Is that a little bit more what you were talking about, David? Okay, good.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So then if you go to page 1 of our packet, which is our City of Eureka Springs sales and use tax distribution, this is kind of what we just talked about. We got $381 or $381,260. Of that, our general fund went into our general fund of $239,751.42. Streets was $56,185, and parks was $60,198, and then $25,000 went towards our bond payment to total up to the $381. So that's how our $381 was split. On the next page, this is our sales and use tax comparison for year over year by month. And so you'll see that we're 1.59% above where we were at the same time last year. And this amount here takes out your parks taxes. This is just what the city would be getting. So we're about 31,000 over where we were at last year at the same time. And then the next page on that is just our charts. Page 3 is the chart showing our year over year of 21, 22, and 23. Does anybody have any questions over any of that, the sales tax part?
So how much does Parks get total sales tax?
They get the 0.25, and they get the 0.125. So if you look on page 1, you'll see that Parks got $60,198.98. $56,185.72 went to streets, and $239,751 went into our general fund, and then $25,000 went to Regions to pay for our bond. That's the part, the monthly holdback.
Okay, thank you.
Michael, were you able to get a list of people that are paying tax?
No, this is as detailed down as I can get. The other would have to come
they won't give
through.
you the amount of money each person
Yeah.
gives, but
They would just give me the categories.
they'll give you the categories and
Yes.
that they are paying.
Yes. So then it goes to, if they're not paying their taxes, then that's a whole other state issue. So, yes, Ms. Autumn.
Do you follow or are you concerned with our recession? You know, I mean, is that our job to kind of look at that and go, hey, like, constituents are telling me that we're really down, and, while our numbers are up, me personally, we're up 40%. We've raised our prices 40% this year.
Yeah.
So I'm just concerned that finishing out this year has not been strong, in my opinion. And I'm just a little nervous going into winter and then this next year. And what are we doing to, ensure that we're not taking on too many extra payments? Because I know we've kind of upped and beefed up our budget, of course. I don't know, I'm just a little
So
concerned
far,
with
we're
that.
tracking with our budget. We're tracking in line. One of the things that I did when I did the budget is I didn't go crazy on projecting our revenue way out there. I went ahead and projected it as almost as flat as I could. So our projection is going right along with what our sales tax is coming in, just a few percentages higher. So we are doing that. We are looking at that. We're tracking. Of course, we track our sales tax. We look at, like, one of the charts we'll look at is our comparative bank balance. Are we spending a lot of money? Has our bills gone so out of control that we're spending a lot of our money? We're not. We're maintaining. We're not putting a lot of money into the bank, but we are maintaining at our current level. As far as the different businesses, really all we can go by is what we get, like, in our sales tax. And if you go to that sales tax comparison, you'll see that these would be collections that we received in August. This would be for the month of June, because it would be sales from June, then it would be remitted to the state in July, and then it would be sent back to us in August. So if you just track August across there, you know, we're comparable to 2021, we're over 22, but if you go back pre-pandemic, in the 20s and the 19s, we're substantially above where we were at those times.
It was
So
pretty bad in 19.
we were able to, you know, come out of the pandemic, level off and kind of come out of it, and we've been able to still increase a little bit. So we do look at those trends, and we do, you know, we're constantly looking at our bills, seeing how much more is this costing, how much more is that costing. But that is going to be something, where that's really going to affect us is on some of the bigger projects that we do, because they take so long from the time we decide to do them till bidding, till the implementation, you know, that the cost can get out of control. So that is something that we will have to watch on some of our projects coming up.
Mike, in your, I assume there's, you had preliminary meetings with each department and working on their budgets.
Yes.
And are we looking at, you know, for next year, as you see it to this point, flat with this year? I mean, you're not,
Yeah.
you're staying to the conservative side? Is that?
Yes, we're going to keep it pretty conservative. One of the things that I've really been stressing to the department heads, I've talked to the mayor quite a bit about this, and we're trying to get with the department heads, is right now, for the last probably 18 to 24 months, we've been in such a reactive mode. Something happens, we go buy it. Something happens, we fix it. But what we're going to try to do is try to do some long-range planning. You know, what do you need, not necessarily what do you need in the next 12 months, but what do you need in the next 5 years? And whenever we go out like that, it's like, okay, so maybe this year, you know, like a good example is for Public Works. You know, they kind of need a new backhoe. The one they've got works. We've done a lot of work on it, but it's not something, it's what the money that we've spent to fix it will make it last for another year or two. So then we can put that in our long range plan, and maybe we take care of some other things, you know, immediately that need to be taken care of, but we put that backhoe out 2 years or 3 years. So we're trying to do some things like that so that we're not spending all of our money at once. We're going to, you know, let it pay for itself as we go along. So we're trying to watch that a lot. So there's going to be some long-range planning. We're going to try to get some more into that and not be so reactive, but more proactive on some of these things. Because we know, you know, one of the things with the water department is, you know, we didn't spend a lot of money on replacing our equipment and stuff like that for several years. Well, now it's falling apart. So it's like we're having to purchase things, and we're getting the minimal things that we need to keep going, and then we're going to make some long-range plans to get, you know, stuff that's halfway used out, put it out 3 years, put it out 4 years, that kind of stuff, and not just keep pushing everything.
Yeah, all that stuff had been sitting outside until we got the new building where we could put some of it inside. So it's,
Right.
our new stuff is going to last longer.
Right.
Well, and that goes along with a lot of our other equipment too. If you remember, you know, if we go back 8 years ago, we were at the point where, you know, we were wondering if we were going to be able to make payroll in 3 months. And so all the department heads had to tighten their belts. We had to stop spending money. And unfortunately, that also meant that we couldn't replace a lot of things.
Sure.
And we've always kept, you know, a relatively flat budget with the exception of payroll and COLA and raises, you know.
And Terry, kind of back to your point, just because they ask for it doesn't mean it's going to even make it to you guys. Because that is something that I do, is I sit and I look, you know, we don't have enough money to pay for this right now. We're going to have to put this out. Just because you have a wish list doesn't mean that we're just going to open the checkbook and write it out and you're going to get everything you want. This is going to fall within your budget, and you know, you're not going to, we coalesce that and make sure that before we ever bring it to y'all that
In reference to the water department, are we still talking about we're going to have to do some changes to the I&I fund or not?
no.
It's going to be, we're okay to leave it alone?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything that we can see so far, the most change that we might have to do is a name change. But other than that, I mean, there might be where we have to update and call it something else. But all of the research that I have done is the words are interchangeable. I can see them being both words. So, but if they start complaining, then we could do that. But so far, we have not had any problems with that or been instructed that we're going to have to change that. So.
Shouldn't we, at this point, forgive the loan to the water sewer department?
No. Next. No, I think they should pay it back. I mean, I think we should keep up with that. You've got an enterprise fund there, and they should be maintaining their own business and stuff. And I know that from times we've had to loan them money and do things from the city, but the whole goal is to get the water department and our water system in such a better shape that it's paying for itself, can pay for the things that it needs, and can start paying some of that money back.
How can it pay it back when the law states that the money has to be kept in the water sewer
But
department?
those are loans, Harry. You're mixing apples and oranges. When we loan them, they can pay back.
A city loan to a city department.
They pay it back, and I'm not sure we can forgive the loan.
Yeah.
I think the auditors might get on to us for forgiving it.
Huh.
Yeah. So,
But so they can pay it back, but they'll take it out of their, whatever fund we put it in, and we'll come back into the city coffers.
we're never going to do anything that's going to hurt the water department. So if they're just barely struggling by, we're not going to send them a bill and say, hey, you need to pay this right now. Because, that's cutting your nose off. But whenever
$100 a month, son.
when we do get into a better situation and we get things to where it's more paying for itself, paying for its repairs and those kind of things. And we haven't had to loan the water department money in a long time.
Oh, no.
So
No.
that's
We
a
kind
good
of
thing.
fixed that a while back.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on page 4, this is our revenue and expenditures report. This is what lists what we have budgeted. And one thing that's going to be a little bit misgiving in this one is we passed our new budget in September, so this reflects our old budget. So if you see things that are kind of out of line with the budget, then that's all going to be corrected whenever you see it next month, because as of September, the new budget numbers will be in there. But as of August, we had a total of, we were at 66.58% of our year. We had projected 14.4%. We were at 8.5, which is 58.90% of our budget. We had estimated expenses of 14 million. We have expenses of 8.3 million, so we're at 59.13% of our budget, of our expenses. So our revenue's down, but we've been able to kind of control our expenses and reduce them so far throughout the year also. So we're running at a net margin of $205,000.
Historically, are there months that are lopsided?
We start,
Winter months.
a lot of it has to do with your sales tax and stuff like that. And then we start getting our property taxes in and things like that. So towards the end of the year, we have some big revenue streams that come in because we get our second half of our Washington County, or not Washington County, but our Carroll County ambulance payment. We get the half of that. We get a good chunk from our property taxes because they collect a lot of that stuff in October and along those lines. And then we have the sales tax. We get a little boost on it because, we start receiving, like, this is August, this was June sales. So, July, August, September, those sales don't come in until the last 3 months of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So we do get a little bit more heavier income, it seems like, towards the end of the year. So,
It's just the opposite in the lean months in winter, January, February,
yes.
March.
And you'll probably we'll see some increases in water payments because water usage throughout the summer, that gets a little bit higher. So we'll start seeing some of that benefit from that a little bit. So you have some things that get real heavy during the summer, the end of the summer months, that we don't get the actual money from till, it gets closer to the end of the year. So. Our next chart is on page 27. And this is our monthly revenue versus our expenditures. We did do some, you'll see that these next two charts, they are a little bit off from the numbers that we just went over, and we did some adjustments because we're trying to get down to some real brass tacks numbers, and so we adjusted some of these revenues and expenses down. This revenue and expenditures is takes out the capital expenditures that we paid for that were paid out of reserves. So this is a more kind of true picture of what our revenue and expenses were for the month. And as you can see, we're still 200,000 over where we predicted we would. Next one is the month to date, which is year over year. This thing was getting really bad. And that's what you don't want in a chart, is a chart that gets really bad. So we went back and we really did a lot of deep dive into this to kind of see why these last 2 months were such a huge difference. And when we went back and looked at it, in July and August of 22, we were getting COVID money. So we went back and took that out so that it wasn't necessarily part of our revenue stream, to kind of show more what our actual revenues were. So revenue for 23 versus 22, we're down about 123,000 over what we had brought in, less the COVID money. So just kind of give some more realistic pictures. Page 29 is our capital expenditures. The only update I think here, and this will be a year-end budget adjustment that we will be making. Down in transit, they had ordered 2 vans, and they have been on order for like a year and a half, almost 2 years. Smitty had no really indication that they were going to come in this year. He really thought they were going to be in first quarter of next year, because they just kept telling him they were not here, not here, not here. And then I called him up one day and said, they're here, come get them. And so he talked about it last time he was here. The state paid 80%. We had to pay 20%. So our total was $45,000 that we had to pay out of transit. We knew it was coming. We just had no idea when it was going to get here. And like I said, he ordered them like 2 years ago. So that'll be an adjustment we'll make. But our flushing trailer is still on order, and our ambulance, I think, is supposed to be here within the next 30 days, I think is what Gary told me. So we're getting real close to getting that.
What's the communications project?
The communication project had to do with the radios that the fire and the police use. They had to be upgraded. Butch may know a little bit more about it than I do, but they had to be reset and upgraded.
They have to be compatible with the county and other counties. Right now, we can't speak to Berryville without going through a third party, you know. And so, because the county went ahead and spent their outrageous amount of money on new radios, it forced the small towns to do the same thing, to follow suit. We've known about this. This was coming up probably for about 5 or 6 years. We just didn't want to do it until we had to do it.
And it was literally $150,000 a piece, but we did $75,000 last year, and then this is the second part of it. So we at least did bust it up into 2 years, but we did $75,000 for each of them last year, and then $75,000 for this year. So.
I know when Chief Acorn was here, he was complaining about the radios not being very good.
Yep.
Yeah, so this cured that problem.
Yeah.
And under the work trucks for streets, we had budgeted $90,000 for 2 trucks. We have bought 2 trucks at $56,000, so that leaves $34,000. So I just bought another one on Friday, and it was $34,600. So I stayed within my $90,000 almost. Y'all are gonna have to give me $500 more, but we got 3 trucks out of it instead of 2. So we'll pick up the other one this week. And it's a 22 Ford F-150 with 12,000 miles on it.
Wow.
So it's like a brand new truck. So yeah, so they're real excited that we found that one on Friday. So I've already,
And, you know, finally, the public works are getting some new vehicles.
yes. That'll be two 22s, F-150s, and then the 250 that we bought was a 2018. So, but they're, real good shape, low mileage, that kind of stuff. I think both of the 22s are under 20,000 miles, so they're like brand new. They look brand new. So, yeah. And this one will even have some warranty left on it. A little bit of warranty left. So, okay. So on page 30 is our comparative bank balances. As you can see, we've been running, 6.2, 6.1, 6.3, 6.1. We're staying in there. We're not, spending a lot of money, burning a lot of money. So, we're trying really hard to keep our expenses down versus our income coming in and not have to dip into that. And part of that, we've discussed this before, if you kind of go up to the clearing account, you'll see that one can have a small balance or a large balance. That's just checks that we've written and they're outstanding. So that can cause our balance to be off a little bit and not be as realistic. But some of our accounts, we've got good money in. We've got, we got money in our I&I fund. So, if we have issues there, we've got money in our franchise fee fund. So we've got some money around should we have any major catastrophes or anything to take care of things. We try to keep a balance of around $500,000 in our general fund at all times. So, sometimes it gets right around 500, but like this at the end of July or the end of August, it was 547. The month before that, it was 674. We try not to let it dip below 500,000, but that's our general fund. So, all right. And page 32 just kind of shows you the comparison of, where we've been. Uh, 2023 on page 33, 2022 and 2023 comparison. You can kind of see we're pretty much mimicking pretty close to what we did in 23. A little off. And then page 34, that's just the update on our long-term debt. Our next payment is was the 1st of October, which we made that payment. So we'll reflect that whenever we get there. So that payment's been made. So the next payment we'll have is 4/1 of 24, which is an interest-only payment.
It's really isn't too bad considering how much money we spent this year on big stuff.
Mm-hmm. And then there's not a lot of update on the payments on the last page of the Van Buren Sidewalk Street. We're starting to get bills in from them, so we're presenting that to the state for our reimbursement. We did get our, reflective in these financial statements, we did get our first payment from the CAPC for their annual payment. And then about a week ago, I got their payment for the overages. So that'll be reflected coming up. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. What are you hiding from us?
Terry, does anybody else have any questions? No, I
We
mean,
got a new car hid in here somewhere.
I'm getting a car for the finance director. No, honestly, and I say this, every time we have one of these meetings, I try to be as transparent as I can with you guys, maybe give too much information. But if you have any questions or anything like that, I mean, Harry's come by and visited with me. Autumn and I visited. So if you have anything, feel free to ask me because, I am very much about you guys. I mean, you guys have to make decisions on this city based on the information that I give you. And I want you to have the best information as possible. And, and I never take what you say for granted. And whenever you ask me something, I try to come up with something for it, or where can I get that information? And so, I mean, I love the city and I want it to do great. So I really try to get us as much information as we can to make the best decisions that we can.
When
And
will we get to look at the proposed budget?
In probably the first, are you going to have the second council meeting in November? The one on the 27th, right after Thanksgiving?
I can't get
We haven't
into
decided
my phone.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will get it in November. So you'll have the whole month of December to, I'm not sure when I'll get it to you in November. I may just end up sending it out if we don't have a council meeting that night. But I'll get it to you in November, so you'll have the whole month of December to look at it, to question the department heads. And then we won't have to approve it until January. So we'll have plenty of time.
Cool.
Yep. And then there's a lot more great updates that Ida and I are going to give throughout the rest of council. So, but we're going to tease you there. So.
Is the website up?
Not telling. Not answering that. It's on the agenda.
I'm sorry, sir, this is the budget workshop. Stay on topic. Thank you.
You know, we have, just for your information, we need to bring that up on the agenda, but November, and y'all look at it and think about it, but the fourth Monday is the 27th, which is the last week of November. I think Thanksgiving is the week before, so, you know, theoretically, we could have that meeting on there.
I think we should.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's no reason, a lot of times, depending on where Thanksgiving falls, a lot of times we don't do it because a lot of people will be out, but it looks like that would be a good weekend, good to. On there.
All right. If y'all have any more questions for me.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Thank
Anybody else
y'all.
have anything?
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Michael. If there's nothing else, we'll adjourn until 6 o'clock. Council meeting.